Hey guys, Brian here from Whelan Cameras. In this video we're going to talk a little bit about the D850 with some guys who know a little bit about the D850. So Adrian, last time you were here you were speaking to David in this exact spot, and the last question he asked you was, would you buy one? Would you buy the D850? And you have bought one. So now that you have, so back then we were talking hypothetically about specs and all this sort of stuff. Now it's yours. Tell me a bit more.
Had to buy one. It was that good. After being lucky enough to be part of the introduction of the camera and having the opportunity to go around various stores and show off what it could do, I had to give that camera back to Nikon Corporation.
Yeah.
And I got severe withdrawal symptoms.
Sure.
There was nothing else I could do. I had to go out and buy one. And since that time, my regard for the camera and what it can do has only increased.
Yeah.
So it's what I thought and had a good understanding of the camera as being a good camera initially.
Yeah.
It just blossomed really.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what's in it? Like what do you love about it?
It's a good compendium of all different, the best things that are brought to the table with the D5 and the best things that are brought to the table with the D810. Apart from ultimate speed and ultimate integrity of build, which you find in the D5, it's all here.
Yeah.
And we have the same 153 point focusing system. So it's very, very fast focusing, very responsive, into -4 EV, ladies and gentlemen. Combine that with 7 frames a second out of the box, 9 frames a second with the grip.
With the grip, yeah.
Yeah, great dynamic range.
Sure.
And Matteo and I have been having some really good fun with the camera this afternoon, because if you like still life or landscapes,
yes,
the control you have over the depth of field is amazing.
Yeah, and then beyond that, like, so beyond your specs and everything like that, there's just some usability things in this that make it so amazing. Like, we were watching you taking some pictures, and we pull out the screen and used the screen to focus.
Oh yeah.
Because people talk about touchscreen, and it seems a bit of a kind of, oh, it has a touchscreen. Great. What does a pro want with a touchscreen? But no, you were putting it to.
Hey, I felt the same way.
Yeah.
I thought at first a touch screen or a tilting screen even.
Yeah.
Was a little gimmicky.
Yeah.
Because none of my older digital DSLRs ever had a touchscreen so I kind of associated that with more of a mainstream,
sure,
prosumer or entry-level camera. But no, not so. The more that I use the touchscreen and the tilting screen, the more opportunity I have to realise how many situations it becomes an advantage.
Yes. Okay.
It's great.
Yeah.
You know, you can. I mean, I do advocate using the viewfinder whenever possible, because it gives you better posture and better control over the camera, and you should always learn with a DSLR looking through an optical viewfinder. But when you're doing landscapes or product work in the studio, wow, the touchscreen and the tilt screen, it's invaluable. It's great.
Okay, so what I decided to do here was, of course, we're going to talk to Adrian, but Adrian has interest with Nikon. So what I thought we'd do is we'd bring in Matteo. So Matteo is an amazing musician and an amazing photographer who has recently purchased a D850. So you've come from the D.
Yeah, the D7100 for this. Yeah. Still have it.
How much of a step up is it for you? What have you found in this now that you go, oh my god, how did I not have that before?
Well, I think the main difference for me so far is the autofocusing system in this camera is a lot more accurate. So with the D7100 I was getting a ratio of properly focused shots, 4 or 5 out of 10 I'd say. Because I do wildlife, I do stuff that's moving around a lot, but I'm finding with the and a bit of sports and that, but I'm finding with this that you're getting a much higher percentage of in focus shots.
Sure.
Without having to kind of relearn, you know, a new camera system.
Yeah. So
that for me is major.
But that makes a huge difference, because we were all kind of speaking about it previously, and it's something I always say to people, is that the better a photography you get, you just get more good ones. You still have to get rid of the bad ones. And if you're doing a wedding, even if it's just for your family, or if you're doing it on a professional level, you might take 3,000-4,000 shots and you'll give the bride 300 of those. Not because the rest of them are bad, but it's just because some are out of focus, some are, you know, like that. So like you said, if you're getting a better ratio of in focus as to out of focus, that's got it.
Yeah, oh, certainly that's what it's all about. But it's more than just getting the shots in focus. It must be critical when you've got a bird, and it's a migratory bird, and you've got like one afternoon to nail it, and there it is on the rock. You want to get it, don't you?
Yeah, but even, I mean, the kind of main project so far, I went to Venice for the carnival, and what you have major issues with light in that St. Mark's Square is surrounded by, there's like a walkway around it, so you have ambient light, you have artificial light, you have white masks, black masks, red, all kinds of different colours, and you can't be kind of taking a long time to kind of transition from one environment or one setting to another. But I found with the D850 that I was actually able to successfully transition over a vast range of different kind of shooting scenarios with relative ease, you know.
And accuracy.
Yeah, and so you're confident in the camera then. I could just focus on getting close to people, interacting with the subject, knowing that the camera was going to be there to do what I needed to do when I needed it most, you know. So I in that regard, I can't speak highly enough of the 850, you know.
That's actually the 180,000 point RGB sensor at work. It's probably, well, it is the most accurate RGB sensor that Nikon have ever made, and it's designed to handle very subtle changes in ambient light accurately. So those situations where older cameras might not be sure if you've got some sort of vague mixed lighting situations, or if you're transitioning from ambient light to artificial light, it'll react to that quickly. Accurately.
And one thing I do feel is that it's actually going to make you a better photographer, because you're going to have to learn a little bit more about tiny differences in your focusing and so on. You know, I think with the 7100 you could probably get away with a little bit more kind of, you could rely on the camera a little bit more, but the attention to detail that this camera provides means that you have to really like I was finding it again in Venice, that there would be difference between focus on an eyelash and under the eye, even, you know, so tiny differences, shot from maybe 4 or 5, 6 meters. So it's going to turn you into a better photographer, you know, which is that's what it's about for me anyway, you know. It's a plus for me.
Good.
Okay, so the 850.
2 thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a chunk of change, but I think
But it's worth it.
for I think it's worth it. Yeah.
And what Matteo was talking about as far as not being as forgiving is probably as a result of the 45.7 megapixels.
Yes.
So it's so densely packed that if there is any out of focus element of your image, it's more apparent.
Yeah.
So that's something that should be taken on board with anybody who's thinking about this camera. You have to pay attention, and you have to. It's not a difficult camera to use. It's just as easy as any Nikon camera.
Yeah.
But if you have flaws in your technique, it will tend to highlight them. Whereas a lesser camera is a little bit more forgiving. So if it's not quite as in focus with 12, 16 megapixels, you can get away with it. But when you have this much resolution, it will advertise the fact that you're out of focus.
Sure. So you'll be a better photographer.
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic. So thanks a million, guys.
No problem.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks so much. If you like this kind of content, again, be sure to like, subscribe. If you bought one, be sure to comment. We'd love to hear what you think about it. So again, thanks guys, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.